Again, take a look at these players. They are both playing the Pikachu and Zekrom GX deck. And the one thing of note is Francesco's actually playing the one copy of Leon. So one of the only differences between these two decks, both playing heavy disruption with 4 Crushing Hammers and 4 Marnie to go along with them.
Oh yeah, these lists are incredibly similar from both of these players. They're also both playing that Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team GX, which we've seen be a key piece in the matchup against Arceus Dialga and Palkia, since it has that higher 270 hit points and can use the attacks of both Pikachu, Zekrom, and Raichu and Alolan Raichu. So I wonder if that's something we could see come up here in the mirror match.
Yeah, we'll have to see, but let's take a look at these players' accomplishments yet again. Zach, you know of already, a great player in the community, 2nd place at the Oceania International Championship in 2020, and then up against Francesco, who has a regionals top 32 in 2019. So already adding to that accomplishments there with just a great performance here in the Pokemon Players Cup 2.
Yeah, Zach is certainly one of the most decorated players left in the tournament at this point, has had incredibly good finishes over the years, very strong finishes at international championships, making a deep run in Players Cup 2. But once again, this is in the losers bracket here, so it all comes down to this game for at least one of these players, right? One player will be going home with nothing, and one player will get to continue on in this Players Cup tournament.
Yeah, and I think the game is ready to go. We are looking forward to this Pikachu and Zekrom GX action.
Absolutely, we're going to see the mirror here, and we're going to see, I think a key thing here is going to be, yeah, who wins the coin flip, and it does look like Francesco is going to be choosing to go second, which is definitely ideal here. You want to be going second, you want to be finding that Bolton V on turn 1 and using that Electrify attack in order to accelerate extra energies into play.
Yeah, and it is looking at least pretty friendly here leading up to this game, even though it is pretty just terrifying, at least the stakes that are going on, and looking like Zach finally found that Bolton V as a starter here.
Solid starter here. I think as Zach, you really want to be kind of foregoing the Electrify. You really want to try to build up and get off the turn to full blitz as Zach in this position. But we know, of course, Francesco is playing those Crushing Hammers, and that can be a really difficult thing to get around whenever you're trying to build up for a 3 energy attack.
And well, here is Zach going first, has access to Quick Ball and Electromagnetic Radar, but not quite enough cards to actually discard for all of them. Does have access to the Crobat V in hand as well. So looking like a pretty good turn here from Zach.
Kind of an interesting hand here. Gonna look... Oh, this is kind of risky. Hopefully that other Pikachu Zekrom is in the deck. Okay, it does look like it is there. You definitely need to at least have access to one of those Pikachu and Zekroms, so discarding one before your first deck search is always a little risky. There is always, of course, the chance that it is in... the other copy is in the prize cards.
Yeah, granted, Zach does have a little bit of leeway with that, with the 2 Mewtwo and Mew GX in the deck. But yeah, it is always pretty risky when you're not able to check what is prized first, and that is exactly what Zach's doing now. Just really great play here to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with so much on the line at this point. You know, these players are playing for a lot here. The title of Players Cup 2 champion, and you want to make sure that you don't miss anything at all. I actually wonder here, maybe we'll see Zach just use the Crobat before using the Quick Ball, maybe giving themselves a way to discard an energy if they draw it, so that they can use that Tapu Koko Dance of the Ancients on the next turn.
All right, well, there's an energy and chooses to attach it for the turn. So
yeah, just drawing the 1 energy makes sense there. Giving yourself the option, though, to still be able to utilize the Quick Ball. You can still find that Tapu Koko next turn, potentially.
Yeah, just hoping to dodge Crushing Hammer, and it's the very first card that Francesco plays, but a Tails. So will they be able to find any more for this turn? But he's looking in a pretty good position, at least. Zach didn't have that great of a turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think Zach got basically everything that's really necessary, right? You got the Pikachu Zekrom down, you got the energy attachment on it, and now it's just kind of the case of dodging those crushing hammers, which we've seen a successful tails for Zach's side of things, at least, on Francesco's first flip. And Francesco going to be going ahead and playing this quick ball. Starting the Raichu is pretty decent. You can get the air balloon on it right away, so that kind of becomes a pivot for you the entire game. And of course, also just playing the natural switch card. And that is the card we want to see from Francesco. Bolton V coming down. And let's see if there is a switch card to go along with it.
All right, well, this has been a pretty perfect start here from Francesco. Gets the Boltoon with an energy and finds the air balloon as well as a Marnie. So looking like a pretty good turn too. Here's the second crushing hammer and gets the heads.
Ooh, that is not great for Zach. Of course, Zach could still attack this turn. It is just made a little more difficult. You need to find the Tapu Koko. You need to discard another energy card, as we do see the draw of the quick ball. But it looks like Zach might just play things safe and go with the Electrify here on this turn.
Yeah, you don't want to expend too many resources, especially when you think you're going to need them later on in the game. Does get the energy down to that active Boltoon, and yeah, just looking for the Electrify here.
Gonna hold off on playing the Marnie, interestingly enough. I guess wants to hold on to the pieces in hand here. You've got Quick Ball to maybe find that Tapu Koko if your opponent does hit more crushing hammers. You have the energy switch plus the switch in hand to get the full blitz off next turn. So I think that's kind of the reason we maybe see Zach holding off on playing a Marnie right away.
Yeah, well, it actually also gives him a chance to kind of attack with either of the tag team Pokemon on the bench just through the use of Tapu Koko Prism and that energy switch. So pretty good options Zach has as long as he keeps it in his hand.
Absolutely, and that's something you'll see a lot from some of the highest level players in the game, is just giving yourself as many different options as possible, not trying to shut down any specific path. You know, maybe if you play the Marnie here, your hand next turn doesn't give you as many options, so Zach knows that he'll have plenty of choices this coming turn based on this hand, so holds off on playing the supporter for the turn.
All right, well, there we see the first Dene GX from either player hit the board. Francesco gets a new hand of 6. And he gets the Chaotic Swell, not really too important, but there we see a Boss's Orders brings up that Pikachu and Zekrom to get some damage on it, but just 130 damage.
Yeah, pretty solid turn here for Francesco. Just bringing up this Pikachu Zekrom, getting the first hit in on a tag team Pokemon. That's something you kind of, there's a couple of different ways you can try to map out your prizes, so to speak, in this matchup, where you try to just knock out 2 tag teams. You can knock out 3 2-prize Pokemon into Dene, Bolton, Crobats, Pokemon like that, and just kind of ignore the tag team attackers. So it looks like Francesco here is going to be trying to take the 2 tag team strategy in this game.
All right, well, Zach has lined up a full blitz for this turn thanks to that energy switch, and it now has the option of either the Dene or Marnie, and is looking like the Marnie gets that Mewtwo and Mew tag team GX.
Ooh, this Mewtwo bench is a little risky from Zach, though. You know your opponent also plays the Mewtwo and Mew, and of course Mewtwo has that psychic weakness, so it's pretty easy for your opponent to pick up a KO on that in just one single turn. So I would be a little worried about this benching of the Mewtwo from Zach, though I will say it does give you some more flexibility.
Yeah, and then with the Quick Ball, it finds the Dedenne GX, so brand new hand of 6 finds the Marnie and the Professor's Research to continue, but importantly, his crushing hammer himself.
And I wonder if in this spot we'll see, maybe if Zach had hit the heads on the crushing hammer, we would have seen him just go for the tag bolt here to take the KO on the Boltons, leave Francesco with just the 1 energy on the Raichu and Alolan Raichu. But maybe in this spot we'll still just see the slower play and maybe safer play of just going for a full blitz.
Well, 2 crushing hammers off of the top from Marnie might say otherwise if both of them happen to be heads. First one is a tails, though, and 3 tails in 1 turn for Zach. That is sad face indeed.
Yeah, and you can see Zach, I think, was kind of debating which of those little emotes to send there. Sad, surprised, angry, lots of different emotions, I think, running through Zach right now. Does just have to settle for the full blitz, which is pretty solid still.
Well, there's only one emotion running through Francesco right now, and it's happy, especially if this is heads, but no. So Crushing Hammer does not want to cooperate this game, at least for most of the players.
It's so funny. In all these Pikachu and Zekrom versus ADP games that we've just seen these Pikachu Zekrom players flipping heads nonstop, getting rid of energies the entire time. But whenever they go up against the mirror match, it's just nothing but tails.
Hey, well, there's one factor that's missing, and it's the Arceus Dog Opalkia GX factor. So I think it fuels Crushing Hammers.
Yeah, right. I guess whenever you know it really matters, whenever you're going to be preventing that potential Altered Creation GX, that's whenever the hammers really come in clutch.
All right, well, there we see a Marnie yet again. It's important to remember both of these players playing 4 of them, so it's going to be the supporter played more often than not here to disrupt each other.
And Francesco here is able to find the energy card, so we will see the Full Blitz here, which will pick up a KO on this Pikachu and Zekrom. And I think if Francesco could find the Mewtwo and Mew that they play, that would be huge, but no, is just going to have to be a Full Blitz here.
Yeah, well, you also kind of have to remember that if you bench the Mewtwo and Mew yourself, that is 3 free prizes for Zach if he finds a boss's orders, which we know he has in hand. So it's kind of that glass cannon where it's good against itself, but it's also very bad against itself too.
Zach here debating sending up the Boltund potentially, maybe not wanting to attack with the Mewtwo right away, but that is the only thing with energies on it, so it might be kind of the route you have to go. Zach could attack with the Boltund V here still if he's able to find like the energy switch plus an energy attachment, get a set up for a 2-hit KO on this Pikachu and Zekrom.
I think
and then also potentially set up for the reset stamp to 1.
I think the thing that's going on here is the Dedenne might be prized. Yeah, just the Eldegoss V left, so having access to something like a Marnie or Professor's Research is good here, better than nothing, but Zach didn't actually know what was going to be in the deck, at least, knowing that the Dedenne GX was in the prizes from turn 1.
And does still have the switch card in hand, so that still leaves Zach with an option. Maybe eyeing up, just bringing up the Raichu and going for the Tandem Shock with your own Mewtwo and Mew, getting a little bit of paralysis in play, which is a fine play if your opponent has used a lot of their switching cards, but that's kind of what it comes down to, is how many of those switch have been played from Francesco already.
Yeah, and it's actually pretty lucky. Zach drew the switch off the top of the deck for the turn, so without the switch, he wouldn't have actually had an attack.
Right, and I think knowing that Tandem Shock might be the best play this turn, Zach felt like he needed to send up something like the Boltund or, just something so that you can get that switch effect, right? Because Tandem Shock only gives you that extra damage and only causes that paralysis status condition if you move from the bench to the active during your turn.
All right, well, I think we're going to see the Eldegoss V here for the Marnie, trying to disrupt Francesco a little bit because there is no possible way for Zach to actually get the KO, even with another energy. Lightning Ride GX does 250 damage, so with that big charm, that Pikachu and Zekrom GX is staying in the active spot just a little longer.
We do see the Speed Lightning Energy is going to come down on the Boltund, get a little extra card draw. And Francesco's actually in a position where they could win this turn if he's able to find that one copy of Leon in the deck. We could see the Lightning Ride GX to do 280 damage. Are we going to finally see it, Jeremy?
Listen, I expected a lot more Vivid Voltage in this tournament than they're actually showed up with. And I just want to see some Vivid Voltage card put in some work. If Leon is able to do that, he will be one of my new favorite cards.
Well, hopefully we can make that happen. Speed Lightning Energy is the first card played. We see the switch. That's pretty
Leon?
big. And oh, no Leon. We'll just see the Bolt Storm. Hey, that still
not
works,
fun.
Right?
No, yeah. What a great game from Francesco there. Just really putting on the pressure in the mirror match and is able to take game 1.
Yep, very well played on Francesco's side of things. Bolt Storm, we've seen it just hit for crazy, crazy numbers in this tournament so far. Late game, it is such a threat, that Boltund V just being able to do so much damage because your board just has so much energy in play.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if Crushing Hammers have any effect in this next match going forward. And I don't know. We saw a lot of tails there. Didn't really matter too much.
Yeah, it was almost like those crushing hammers were just blank cards in game number 1, but we'll see if they have more of an effect in game number 2. We're going to go ahead and kick things down to the game, and I think Zach, after losing that game, is probably going to be choosing to go second here. We've talked about it many times. Turn 1 Electrify is exactly what you want as the Pikachu and Zekrom player.
All right, well, this is going to be pretty big. Zach will need to try to claw back and win 2 games here to keep their hopes alive, and Francesco is just sitting pretty up game 1.
And pretty decent hand here from Zach. Has the Crobat to draw some cards, has a couple of Crushing Hammers to dump so that you can have multiple opportunities to discard an energy from your opponent. But it's actually just a pass, attachment, and a pass on Francesco's side here.
Yeah, not too good. Either having a hand full of supporters and can't play anything, or just nothing at all. Meanwhile, Zach drew an energy for turn, but did not choose to play it, opting to try to find something for Electrify here. And with the energy and the Boltoon and possibly the Quick Ball to find just something to keep drawing, needs to find a switch here.
Did not find it there off the Speed Lightning Energy. Zach, of course, can continue to dig by finding like the Dene GX here, and honestly, it's not too bad of a spot to just go ahead and keep going for it. You know your opponent didn't have too much, but of course there's always just the chance your opponent has a supporter in hand, and we're not able to play it on turn 1.
Yeah, well, that's going to be Zach's decision to make here as he's counting the deck, making sure what is in the prizes. Looking like only 1 boss's orders.
Ooh, that's actually really unfortunate for Zach, and could definitely come up. There's 2 in the prize cards here. Zach is playing 3 in the list. Of course, you do still have the ability to reuse that 1 boss's orders with something like Eldegoss V, but it kind of becomes the issue of actually just finding the card.
All right, well, first card off that Dede change is the switch, so we will see an Electrify here, and it's looking like a pretty good turn 1 for Zach, although having to discard quite a few energies to get there.
Yeah, discarded maybe a few more energies than Zach would have liked. Of course, Francesco is playing those Crushing Hammers, so discarding too many energies can always come back to bite you. And there is the first hammer, and it is going to go ahead and be heads. Here is another Crushing Hammer. This one is going to be tails, though.
Hey, I know we saw it yesterday, but maybe Francesco's hand was just a bunch of Crushing Hammers, and it looks like it was Crushing Hammers and a Professor's Research, and that research bailed him out big time.
Oh yeah, the hand was basically unplayable besides that, just a bunch of energies and the Eldegoss V. So hopefully Francesco here is able to find... I mean, you just kind of have to go for the Electrify this turn. It's a lot slower. It's not what you ideally want to do on your second turn whenever you go first in this matchup, but sometimes that's just the play you have to accept that you have to go for in this type of situation.
All right, well, here is the Quick Ball. Discards a boss's orders. And will we see him get the Boltoon V? Yes, there it is. So Electrify is one of the best attacks for Pikachu and Zekrom as a deck since rotation, I believe. Just being able to help you Energy Excel without the just beauty of a card that Thunder Mountain Prism was.
Ooh, Francesco is able to find the switch to pull off the Electrify, but can only accelerate energies to the Vikavolt V, which is not a great attacker in this matchup. It's really kind of just a tech in this deck as a one-of that you want to try to utilize, I think, mostly against things like Baby Blacephalon, which really wasn't very popular here in the Global Finals.
Yeah, I believe only 1 copy being played in the 16 players. And now Zach kind of has a little bit of wiggle room here. No threat of something like a full blitz next turn. So we could even see maybe just another Electrify to build up the board even more, depending.
I think Zach probably wants to try to find the full blitz here. It's a little awkward to do. You don't have that Tapu Koko yet, and you already have one of these switch cards in your hand, so... Maybe we'll just see the Marnie here. You know, you minus 1 card for your opponent, and then worst case scenario, you can still just go for the Electrify. But actually, he's just going to dig right away with the Research. Let's see if Zach can find the switch card. Does find the switch, but no Tapu Koko.
Yeah, no Tapu Koko. If he wants to go for it further, the Dedenne GX would have to be the play here.
You lose so many resources to do that. The switch is pretty important later on in the game, with paralysis and stuff potentially being a problem. So it looks like Zach will just go ahead and play things safe here, go for the Electrify, and just go ahead and load up the Pikachu and Zekrom, putting 2 energies on it.
I like this. Just be aggressive. You sense the weakness from your opponent's hand, just not being able to find any extra Pokemon. And as long as they're not able to do that, the more pressure you're able to put on, the better. And if they actually do find a Dedenne GX to get them out of this hand, that's something that Tag Bolt could just take advantage of.
You definitely make your opponent think twice before benching that Dedenne in this spot. And it is another Tails on the Crushing Hammer here for Francesco. Does find the boss's orders, probably just trying to buy some time here. Oh, and will actually be able to with that Paralyzing Bolt. Of course, the effect of that attack makes it so your opponent cannot play any item cards. So we see that switch in Zach's hand, unable to be played right now.
Yeah, reminiscent of the numerous amount of item locking attacks in the past. Vikavolt V is one of the ones that hasn't really rose to the top of the format like the previous ones in prior sets, but putting in a ton of work here and forcing Zach to actually use his energy attachments to the active instead of the bench.
And we're actually going to see Zach use the Eldegoss here and go for the Team Yell Grunt, trying to just slow Francesco down a little bit here. And it looks like maybe going to eye up discarding or removing the energy from the active. Unsure which one to move here.
Yeah, trying not to click the Speed Lightning energy to put to the top of the deck to give more cards to Francesco.
Does just go ahead and opt for the energy on the active Vikavolt V. Francesco says, hey, I'm fine to just go ahead and attach and play my own Team Yell Grunt. How about that?
Zach is a little locked here in a position, at least for the couple turns, and just attach and a pass yet again. Professor's Research is a card you do not want to play right now. You have all the resources in your hand that you would possibly need. And here we see an energy switch.
Yeah, and we might just see the second attack come out here from Vikavolt V, dealing 190 damage, which would pick up this KO, but you have to discard 2 energies to do it, and that would leave Francesco with a pretty weak board position moving into the end game here.
Yeah, but you kind of have to do what the deck gives you at hand, and the cards are drawn the way they are drawn. So there is the knockout, and Francesco goes down to 3 prizes. But now Zach is kind of opened the floodgates of his hand, has that switch to move around stuff. And could we possibly see a big Tag Bolt this turn too?
It could potentially happen just to throw down a bunch of damage, but also I think just building up for a big Bolt Storm here seems pretty solid. It's actually difficult for the Vikavolt V to really do too much on Francesco's side here, since, you know, all they can do really is attach an energy and, you know, Paralyzing Bolt for 50 again. Sure, you won't be able to play items, but when you know it's coming, you can try to play around it a little bit, which we see Zach doing here by playing the Quick Ball.
Yeah, well, there's the Quick Ball, and one important thing to note is the opposing Mewtwo on the bench as well, so it could have some relevance to Zach's decision in getting the Mewtwo in play or not, and opting not to.
And actually here with the Dance of the Ancients, that will be enough energy in play for the Bolt Storm to just pick up this one-hit KO on the Vikavolt V. And I actually don't know if Francesco's going to have a way to respond to this KO. And so there's a chance that we just see this Bolton V not get dealt with this turn, and Zach is just able to take another 2 or even potentially 3 prizes with it on the next turn.
It is crazy how Bolton V has changed Pikachu and Zekrom into the deck that it is today. Adding just energy acceleration early game, and then an attacker that kind of has a source of infinite damage as long as you have the energy in play.
It's been a very good card in these Pikachu Zekrom decks ever since Rebel Clash was released. It's almost got put into these decks as at least a one of almost automatically, and now we see basically every Pikachu Zekrom deck is going to be running 2 copies of this card.
All right, well, there we see the air balloon on the active and the Dene GX to try to find something to do and take back this game, even though Francesco is up 3 to 4 prizes.
Yeah, Francesco is up in the prize count, so technically winning the game at this point, but the board position is just so much weaker. So I really will favor Zach's board state here. I think Zach's in a much better spot, and with the boss's orders in hand, can just take down whatever tag team Francesco decides to load up here with a bunch of energies with something like Dance of the Ancients.
Yeah, and I believe both of the energy switch that Francesco has in the deck are in the discard. So with the Dance of the Ancients here, though, could get 3 energy on that Mewtwo and Mew GX. So we could see something like a Tag Bolt GX to maybe knock out the active Boltund V.
I think that's kind of what Francesco has to do here. That's really kind of the only option. You need to deal with this Boltund V, or else it's just going to continue to take prizes. But even then, we see that won't. Well, it could matter, right? Zach does need to draw one more energy card, but
yeah.
Zach is currently only 1 energy away from being able to Tag Bolt GX for the game, and has a lot of cards that could do it. Could just draw the energy card, could draw the energy switch to move the energy off of the Dedenne. So I feel like we'll probably just... Oh, actually, it's just going to be the Paralysis.
Wow. All right. So playing the little slower game here, and it was actually the better decision because Zach had the energy off the top of the deck, so has to rely on a Dedenne GX to try to find one of the 2 switch cards left in the deck for Zach to actually take the game this turn.
And Zach should be able to guarantee himself the game here. 8 cards in deck will pull 1 more out here with the Mewtwo and Mew, and there is 2 copies of Switch in the deck. So as long as Zach plays everything out here correctly, we'll see the boss's orders bringing up the Boltund V. Dead Change guarantees that you'll find one of these 2 Switch cards, and Zach's able to play it down right away. And Tag Bolt GX once again taking 4 prizes to close out the game. We've seen so much Tag Bolt this weekend, and it has been very, very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, when you're able to do 200 damage to the active and 170 to the bench, and when everyone's playing Dedenne GX, or even just some support Pokemon that is not able to survive that amount of damage, and then you kind of like, it's a little sneaky, like getting 6 energy on a Pikachu and Zekrom GX nowadays, but it happens a lot more than you think.
Yeah, we've seen it happen time and time again so far in this tournament, and I wonder if we'll see it here in a Game 3, and that's what this is going to come down to for one of these players. Game 3 here in the losers bracket. One player will continue their journey through Players Cup 2, and one player will go home, unfortunately, empty-handed at this point. So we're going to go ahead and kick down to the game, see what's going to happen here in this Game 3. Is it going to be Francesco? Is it going to be Zach? Who is going to be moving on to the next stage of the tournament?
Yeah, well, I think a Pikachu and Zekrom GX will win and move on. That's an estimate conservative guess, but I feel like this deck has just been the deck of the tournament here so far, and I don't know if there's any stopping these lightning Pokemon.
And it looks like a mulligan here to start things off for Zach. Zach will be going first in this game. I'm assuming here Francesco did, of course, choose to go second, which is, like we've said time and time again, what you want to do. And that's kind of a little bit of an awkward hand for Zach, but honestly, pretty solid.
Pretty solid hand, just thanks to the electromagnetic radar and the quick ball. But starting the Mewtwo and Mew GX could prove a little detrimental, just depending on how fast each player gets going.
And we might just see Zach play it a little slow here. You could just go get the Pikachu Zekrom and attach an energy to it. Maybe even just attaching to the active. I feel like you really want to attach to the bench here since you've got the quick ball. I mean, you've got the ability to pull off a turn 2 full blitz pretty... I mean, not 100%, but pretty high percentage here that you'd be able to make that happen. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. There's definitely a lot of options in this hand for Zach.
Yeah, well, when you have 3 ways to search the deck, you have to just rely on your sequencing, especially when you're having to discard a card with Quick Ball and possibly 2 more with Electromagnetic Radar.
And it looks like Zach is just going to go ahead and eye up the Tapu Koko Prism Star here. Definitely, I mean, Quick Ball is the only one of those search cards that can find the Tapu Koko, so you want to get that out if you're aiming to use Full Blitz on the next turn of the game. And we might just see the Cherish Ball go grab the Pikachu and Zekrom and let that be the Pokemon that gets the energy attachment this turn.
All right, well, there is that Tapu Koko Prism Star Cherish Ball, just like you said. Oh, or not.
Maybe. We'll see. I think that seems like a pretty solid line. But like we said, I mean, there's just so many options here. It's hard to identify what is definitely like the best play, but it does seem like that is what Zach is going to eye up. Just getting that Pikachu Zekrom in play, has the Electromagnetic Radar in hand for the next turn, and is going to go ahead and bench that Tapu Koko Prism Star. Doesn't want to have wasted the resource of Quick Ball to go get that Pokemon, and then just have it Marnie to the bottom of the deck.
All right, well, action is on Francesco now, and to start it off yet again, a Crushing Hammer heads. So now 2 energy in the discard for Zach. It's important to note, and a big discard with that Professor's Research here.
Big discard indeed, and the Dedenne GX not the ideal starter. Needs to find the Boltund, the Switch, the energy, and also a Pokemon to electrify onto. I was going to say, oh, that doesn't look very good, but it looks like just going to go ahead and use the Switch card in order to put the Air Balloon on the Raichu and Alolan Raichu. Definitely, I think, a better pivot to have that card on than on the Dedenne GX.
All right, and then Francesco finds a second one, so continuing the drawing spree here, but discarding quite a few energy. And we'll have to see, does find that Boltund V and gets the Speed Lightning as well. So able to salvage a quality turn here, even though having to discard quite a lot of cards.
Francesco would really like to put these energies on to a Pikachu and Zekrom GX. You can put them on to the Raichu and Alolan Raichu, but it just feels a lot better whenever they go on to Pikarom on turn 1, and we do see that is a card that Francesco was able to draw there, and also finds the Big Charm. Going to go ahead and throw that onto Pikachu and Zekrom as well.
All right, well, this is a pretty good turn 1, and Zach needs to figure out what to do with this hand. Has the option to Crushing Hammer, but if he does that, would have to discard the rest of the hand to Electromagnetic Radar. You could just get the Quick Ball for the Dedenne instead of Electromagnetic Radar, and then you have access to Switch, but having quite a bit of decisions to make here.
Yeah, I think this actually works out pretty fine. You can just go get Crobat with the Quick Ball. You don't necessarily have to Dedenne right away, and you save yourself the Switch to be able to try to still pull off the pieces to get the Full Blitz this turn. It's a lot harder. You need to find an Energy Switch here, so let's see if that is a card drawn. Ooh, not quite.
Yeah, no Energy Switch, and would have to possibly rely on the Marnie to try to find it, and opting to bench the Vikavolt V just to attach the Lightning to it because it's a better place there instead of the Crobat V.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, you can always Energy Switch it off of the Crobat, so I don't hate necessarily just putting it on there, but at least with Vikavolt V, you do give yourself that option to potentially make that happen. And now off the Marnie here, that's definitely what Zach's going to be looking for, is an Energy Switch. Oh, does not find it.
Wow.
Goes ahead and plays the Switch before the Marnie as well, so now Zach's just going to have to pass with this Pikachu and Zekrom active, and that actually puts Zach in a pretty bad spot.
Yeah, it was a really risky playing that Switch, but you kind of have to play it because if you don't, then you're kind of hoping to hit 2 cards that you need off the Marnie instead of 1, and you're already putting one of them on the bottom of the deck, so really unfortunate sequencing there for Zach, just missing that Energy Switch off the Marnie. Only having 2 copies for the deck, though, so it was a pretty tough ask.
Definitely is the case. But we do see the attachment to the Pikachu and Zekrom. We'll see, yep, there is a Quick Ball here, so we might see that Tapu Koko Prism Star come out on Francesco's side here, and if Francesco has the Switch card, we could see the Full Blitz coming out here.
Well, there we see a Quick Ball yet again. Finds that Tapu Koko Prism, so has the extra energy, but still needing that Switch effect.
I think the one thing to keep in mind at this point in the game for Francesco, I think Francesco's in a great spot in this one, but has had to bench a couple of the Dedenne GX, and we've seen Zach close out many games so far with a Tag Bolt. So always something you got to kind of keep in mind here. And if Francesco doesn't find the switch card, does hit at least this energy switch so we can see a Bolt Storm to deal a solid chunk of damage to Pikachu and Zekrom.
All right, this Marnie trying to find a card yet again, but now for Francesco trying to find a switch out. And by the looks of things, I don't think he hit it. So yeah, there is the Bolt Storm for 160 damage. And Zach maybe kind of got away with one there.
Yeah, still a solid spot, though, I'd say overall for Francesco. You dealt the first amount of really relevant damage, and it's into one of your opponent's tag team. Here is Zach. You're going to be full blitzing, but you're going to be full blitzing into a 2-prize Pokemon. So I think that's kind of, I think in this instance, whenever the game plays out like this is when we see players go for things like the Tag Bolt GX to try to close things out. You can KO a Boltund here with a 2-hit KO and then just try to build up to a 6 energy, I guess in this case Mewtwo and Mew, in order to Tag Bolt onto, 2 Dedennes or Dedenne and Crobat.
All right, but Zach's hand looking like a prayer trying to figure out something next turn with like a Dedenne GX or something, but gets that full blitz, will charge up the Mewtwo, and we're approaching the end game for this game 3 here.
Coming to the end game indeed, and it is another crushing hammer from Francesco. Ooh, it is a Tails. Okay, that's really great to see as Zach, and that's the only card Francesco plays on their turn. Does not get an energy attachment and does not play a supporter either.
Yeah, discarding the 4 energy early is going to come back to bite him, as not really having any options there for the turn. Does get those 3 prizes, so maybe finding a little bit of help.
And honestly, I think Zach's in a really good spot right now.
Yeah.
Has the reset stamp to be able to put your opponent to 3. Your opponent didn't get an energy attachment, so you can just pretty safely full blitz here with the Mewtwo and attach the energy to the Mewtwo. And I don't really think that there's much that Francesco could do about that. I'm pretty sure, I'm trying to think if there's anything I'm missing. I'm pretty sure there's no way Francesco could knock out this Mewtwo. Oh, I guess their own Mewtwo and Mew could come into play.
Yeah, but not having the Tapu Koko Prism Star anymore to charge it up out of nowhere and only having 2 energy switch in the deck, it's going to be a pretty tough ask, especially if he actually has everything left. And the Crushing Hammer now, just adding a little bit more insult to injury here.
Yeah, and we could even see the Paralyzing Bolt, KO, item lock your opponent, plus, reset stamp, plus pick up a KO. Seems like a pretty solid turn, but you're not really setting up as much for the potential of that Tag Bolt for game.
All right, well, there the energy. It looks like it's going to be on that Mewtwo and Mew, especially with just how late in the game it is. You want to have every energy attachment count here. And there's the retreat.
The retreat here, and probably just the full blitz. And let's see where these energies go. Where do you think, Jeremy? I'm feeling the active here.
Let's go for the active. I love Tag Bolt GX, so I want to see it happen. There's only 2 left, so it's perfect. Perfect math.
There we go. It's going to be 2 energies to the active here, and a couple of prizes for Zach as well. Speed Lightning's pretty good. And that Eldegoss V. Is there a boss in the discard? Ooh, doesn't look like it yet.
Oh, man, Zach, I want you to click on your graveyard discard so much. I want to know if that boss's orders is in there. But meanwhile, Francesco attaches the energy for the turn and the professor's research, trying to cobble together something here, but this quick ball could find that Mewtwo and Mew GX, but I don't know if they have enough to actually attach to it.
Yeah, I mean, already attached for turn, right? So there's not going to be an attack here. I mean, the best case scenario, if the only attack option Francesco really has is to energy switch to Boltund and electrify, and it is just going to be the pass. I believe there was no boss's orders in the discard pile here. Zach can still win the game if Dedenne GX is in the deck, and if the 6 cards from Dedenne finds the boss's orders. Zach does play 3 copies, so we'll have to check here, see how many are in the deck.
Oh. All right, there's 3 copies of boss's orders. The Dedenne GX will be put in hand, and plenty of energy in play. Speed Lightning.
There it is.
The boss's orders.
Boss's orders will be able to bring up Dedenne or Crobat here, and then Tag Bolt GX will be able to knock out the other one. Very well played game from Zach, very well played from Francesco as well, and Zach is able to close out the mirror match and move on to the next round here in Players Cup 2.
Yeah, kind of just saw a little line of victory there in powering up that Mewtwo and Mew GX, with it having basically pretty much immunity for a turn, having no energy and no threats on Francesco's side of the board, and finding that boss's orders, still having all of them left in the deck though, having quite a few outs, but that speed lightning, just little extra cherry on top, gets that tag bolt for game.
Oh yeah, Zach had so many outs there. Even if the boss's orders wasn't drawn there on the Speed Lightning, still had the Dedenne GX in order to draw a bunch more cards. I mean, the odds were probably incredibly in Zach's favor to find it that turn. So well played by Zach, played to the outs and was able to close that game out. Kind of an awkward game as well. Things definitely didn't go kind of initially to the normal game plan that you expect, but Zach's still able to navigate away in order to win the game.
I am sad for Francesco, but it has been such a great run, and to bring Leon all the way, I just wish we could have seen it be in more effect in these games, but just great play from both players there.
Absolutely, and that does eliminate Francesco, like you said, unfortunately.